Preparing. All right, you are on. Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to our first roundtable session of 2023. Let me just check if we're actually on. Yes, I guess we are on. All right. I hope you're all staying safe and warm, and we're just so happy to be here to share with you some very cool and interesting stories about the Harlem Renaissance. Some of you might be familiar with it, and some might not, which is totally okay, and that's why we're here. We'll learn about the importance of this movement, why did it happen, and who were some of the most important figures involved in shaping it. Then we will learn to sing a couple of songs, which I personally look forward to the most. And before we get started, I want to ask a couple of questions from our lovely teaching artists who are with me today. And you guys, please make sure before answering the questions, introduce yourself and tell us what you teach. So the first question is, what was something that you dreamed of being, besides being a musician, of course, when you were super young? And also, if anyone is in the chat with us, please feel free to share what you want to become or what you want to do in the future if you have any ideas yet. I can start us off with this one. My name is Miss Nagar, and I teach the violin. I decided to become a professional musician when I was 9, but I started playing the violin before that. I also always wanted to be an astronaut. I still do. I've been always really into space related stuff and following everything that's new and all that. And if I can go to the space one day, I would definitely go. All right, somebody else.
All right, I can go. My name is Mr. Zachary. I teach cello at Kids in Tune. And I think at first wanted to be an astronaut. But then like somebody told me that astronauts can't wear glasses, and that just crushed me. So then I wanted to be a zoologist, and I kind of ran with that for a while. I actually took a class in high school where I like took care of reptiles. I wanted to specify in reptiles, so I took care of like snakes and lizards and fed them. It was a lot of fun. I loved every minute of it. But then music became a bigger part of my life, and I don't know. I wouldn't consider myself a professional. I feel like I'm a forever student, and I'm always learning and always eager to learn. So yeah, I think a zoologist deep down is really what I wanted to be when I wanted to grow up. Or am I grown now? I don't know. But yeah, I used to want to be a zoologist.
That's amazing. And yeah, we're always growing up until the last day of our life. I feel like that's just, it's in our nature. That was fantastic. Thanks for sharing, Mr. Zachary. All right.
In the chat, Tesla says they have a snake.
Yeah,
I know she does.
I did not know that.
She said she wants to be a vet, and James is here, and Jonathan is here also.
Fantastic. Oh, we're so happy to have you guys with us. That's amazing. All right, Mr. David.
Okay, I'm Mr. David. I teach percussion at the elementary site at Woods Lake. My answer is a little more boring, but before I wanted to be a musician, I did actually want to be a teacher. When I was really little, that's what I wanted to be. I always thought school was really fun, and I used to play school with my sister. We had gotten like extra school supplies that the school gave away at the end of the year. So in the summer, we would pretend that we were teachers. And then when I got older, I started playing instruments and just combined both.
And that's amazing. Now you're both.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Amazing.
Hi, I'm Miss Annie, and I teach clarinet. And before I knew that I wanted to be a music teacher, I guess I thought about being like a journalist, writing for the newspaper or anything like that. And I also wanted to maybe be a marine biologist, but then the science part didn't sound so much fun. I think I just wanted to work with the dolphins. So not quite that easy. Who else is here now? Jarrell is here, and Alexander, and Miss Surya is here.
Hello,
Oh my
everyone.
goodness, amazing. Hello, everybody. It's so good to have you all with us. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. And if we hear from you guys in the chat, we will also read those out loud too. Now we get to the second question. What is your favorite way of just chilling and doing nothing? Now, please, somebody else can start us off.
Yeah, I can go. I think one of the favorite things I like to do is I love to draw. I don't know if you can see, but behind me I have like an art wall, and pretty much all the art up there is I've drawn. So I love to just sort of. I'm not much of a creative person. I can't like see images in my head and draw it, but I'm like a copy machine. So like if I see an image of it, I can definitely draw it to the T. So drawing is a pretty good outlet for me besides playing the cello. Like if I get sick of playing, that's like the next thing that I go to. So yeah, drawing and art is my chill time.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing. All right, Miss Annie.
Um, when I want to relax, I like to read, or if I want to do something with even less brain activity required, I just like to watch TV or play with my cat.
Oh, that's so cute.
You
Playing
should.
with your cat or your dog or your pet in general, what is more relaxing than that? It's so comforting. That's very nice.
Yeah, Alexander says he likes to play video games. Tesla
Of
says
course.
sitting with my family and friends. Gerald says
Oh,
watching TV. Alexander wants to know if Mr. Zachary can draw a cello. Um, and James says the best way of chilling for me is listening to rain and listening to some music to go to sleep. That's a good one.
oh, that is a good one.
That's a
That's
good
fantastic. And Mr. Zachary, I'm sure you will draw a cello for Alexander, right?
Yeah, I can
Now
I
you
can
have
draw
to.
a chill if I have a picture of it. But like I know it's weird because like it's in front of me every day for hours
I
on it,
know.
but like I just cannot do it. Like the
That's
curves and
fantastic.
it's just
You can do it. I
I
believe in
can
you.
do it if I try really hard.
Great. Mr. David?
I love to chill. I have lots of chilling activities, but my favorite things to do, other than watching TV and whatever, is I love to play video games and I love to play with yo-yos and I love to play chess, even though I'm not very good at it. So
That's
don't get the
amazing.
wrong idea. I'm not very good, but I love to play chess.
Oh, that's very, very cool. I used to play chess when I was a lot younger with my dad. It's very nice. And yo-yo, I know some people at
Mhm.
elementary school that are very
Arduous.
into yo-yo. If you're
Yes.
in the chat, raise your hand. Um, I love painting too, and I was going to show you. These are all my stuff
Yeah,
too,
you have an
Mr.
art wall
Zachary.
too.
We're
Yeah.
matching. Yeah, wall of art.
Yeah,
Wall.
So
our wall is
painting,
less interesting.
wall of closet is also an art, I guess, right?
That's
Why
true.
not? Yeah. And I love painting, and definitely, as Miss Annie said, reading is also one thing that I like to do. And I think the relaxing part of reading for me is when I don't have to read that, what I'm reading. So when it's like my own will, that's my relaxing thing. So it's not for school or anything like that. Well, that was really amazing. Thanks, everybody, for sharing. And Miss Annie, let me know if we had anything in the chat later
Keaton's
on.
here.
Oh, oh, nice. Hi, Keaton. We're happy to have you with us.
Yeah, and a couple
Awesome.
other things.
Fantastic. All
Did
right,
we
that was really cool. Sorry, what's that?
did we mention Soraya says in the chat she likes to draw as well. So we have lots of
Miss,
artists.
oh, Miss Soraya, that's amazing. We should probably like, I don't know, do an exhibition or something, joint
Yeah,
exhibition. Yeah, it's gonna
for
be
sure.
fantastic. All right, that was really cool. It's always so fun to get to know, different sides of friends and colleagues, and I always love to hear about, what people do or what people think when they're just on their own and not in the zone that we're all, just hectic normal days and stuff. It's really fun to hear about that. So I really appreciate you guys for sharing. All right, now let's get started with our conversation on Harlem Renaissance. Before I just get into what I have ready, I wonder if any of the teaching artists here would know maybe one fact about this movement. If you want to share just one little fact. Feel free to
Um,
unmute yourself.
yeah, I think you guys are really lucky because I actually didn't learn about the Harlem Renaissance in school really, or it wasn't memorable. The lesson wasn't memorable. I mean, I know maybe like a couple artists, like Duke Ellington, of course. I mean, that's probably the biggest one.
Hmm.
But in terms of like maybe what it meant and how it shaped the future for music and fashion and other aspects of society, I don't really know. So I'm really interested myself to learn as well. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing, Mr. Zachary. Mr. David or Miss Annie?
Yeah, I have a couple of facts. So, similar to Mr. Zachary, yeah, I didn't learn about a lot of these musicians until I was in late high school on my own or when I was in college classes. So it is really cool to learn about some of these artists and these movements in elementary school and younger. But the fact that I have is that now it's really easy to go out and either have school instruments or buy things like that. But for percussion, there was a drummer named Chick Webb, which played
Hmm.
with a lot of the famous
Yeah.
musicians in New York at the time, and he had to actually make his own drum equipment and things like
Hmm.
that to use at the time. There wasn't just, a drum stand that you go buy at the store. He would make it himself, and that was when they were young, like not that much older than some of our students. These were musicians
Hmm.
in like their late teens, and they were just playing music from memory. They didn't know how to write it or read it necessarily, all of them either.
Yeah, it's
So
fantastic.
they
Yeah.
had to work really hard to make the music and the art.
Yeah. That's the power of will, and like when you really want something and you go for it, and then you become inspiring for next generations to come. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing, Mr. David. Miss Annie, would you like to share something?
Yeah, so I also did not know much about the Harlem Renaissance, but when I looked it up, I recognized a lot of the names just from learning
Mm-hmm.
a little bit about jazz. And I
Mm-hmm.
guess one cool thing is that in clarinet lessons, we talked about Ella Fitzgerald a little bit, who I think we're going to talk about later. And the
Mm-hmm.
clarinets are playing a song that she recorded for the concert on Tuesday.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. Okay. Thank you everybody for sharing. So we're going to start with the definition of the word Renaissance, which is a French word that means rebirth. So it basically refers to a kind of a revival or renewal of interest. Revival means basically, to bring back something to the attention of others. So it was there, but it was gone or forgotten, and we bring it back. So the Harlem Renaissance was the development of the Harlem neighborhood in New York City as a Black cultural center in the early 20th century and the subsequent social and artistic explosion that resulted. It was a time of intense creativity that took place in 1920s, which was actually a celebration of African American heritage. It all started when a talented and determined group of African American writers decided to use their work to express their pride in their culture and who they are. So this movement basically started with the authors and writers and poets. Um, Alan Locke, who was titled as the Dean or the philosophical architect of the Harlem Renaissance, encouraged many writers and poets to use the power of their words to narrate something new, to talk about Black experiences in their everyday life, in their struggles. Poets such as County Cullen and Langston Hughes wrote about the Black experience. Jean Toomer wrote stories about everyday life and struggles. And Claude McKay published a best-selling novel about a Black soldier returning home. Zora Neale Hurston, the writer of the book Their Eyes Were Watching God, was an important author who influenced later generations of writers and poets such as Maya Angelou. In her works, Zora portrayed racial struggles in the early 1900s American South and published research on hoodoo, which was a spiritual event that was mostly hidden, and the slaves used that as a projection bubble of their culture and practices. Also, jazz music, though not born in Harlem, was flourishing at the time, and it too drew the public's attention to the richness of African American culture. Before this Renaissance or rebirth, Black culture had been unknown to most Americans. Now, we are going to watch a few sections of a couple of videos together, after which we will share some of our own thoughts and what we learned or what was inspired. Definitely feel free to drop whatever you think in the chat for sure. You will see me cutting some parts shorter. I want to say that beforehand because it might seem a little annoying, but jumping around is only because of the time limit that we have, and I just want to share the most important sections of each video with you guys. All right, so the first video will be about a little bit about the background of Harlem Renaissance and in more detailed of the general information that I just talked about. Sharing.
Most European Americans, white Americans, had not been introduced to the music, to the art of the Black experience. When the Harlem Renaissance breaks out, many people, and you have to remember this is 1920s, the roaring 20s, people are looking for ways to be entertained. And of course, the World War I is over, the Great War, the war to end all wars is over. So people are going to look for ways to be entertained. Hearing about Harlem and going to Harlem became exciting, new, different, and people went. They went to a place that others would say, you don't really want to go up there. But in fact, going up there could get you the time of your life. And going into, you also have to remember the early 20s during Prohibition, everyone wants to do just the opposite of what the law says. So of course, that's another reason to go to Harlem. Go against the grain. Women, go against the grain socially. Cut your hair, wear the short flapper dresses. Go against societal norms. Harlem was that for white America. And of course, going there, and once you get a taste, if you will, of the music of the time, and you get a taste of the literature of the time, of the moment, it then becomes a part of the soul, because that is, of course, one of the things that you can say about African American music. It becomes a part of the soul. And going back downtown and not hearing that sound, you want to bring it with you. And that's exactly how African American music began to filter into the mainstream.
Harlem became the mecca for Black America, and we found blacks, often very talented blacks, Duke Ellington coming from Washington, musicians coming from the South, from Louisiana, from Chicago, all coming to Harlem. So we get this blend of culture, whether it be music or literature, poetry, all coming to Harlem. You had some of the great musicians of that period coming. Also, within literature, there was Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, Claude McKay, just a host of artists and writers. But there's also something else happening in the 1920s, and that's called Prohibition. And this absence of this prohibition against alcoholic beverages really helped spawn speakeasies, and very often whites from downtown were looking for places to go and places where they could have entertainment, which included liquor, and Harlem became a major force there. The two really worked together, Prohibition and the blacks who were migrating to Harlem during the 1920s. Prohibition helps to attract more whites from downtown who see the entertainers, and they begin to see the talent that is in Harlem, and they begin to read the literature more and more. It's interesting to note that what is regarded as the era of the Harlem Renaissance, about 1920 to 1932, are the years of Prohibition.
Throughout the 1920s, there were many significant contributions made by black performers in New York. Duke Ellington and his Six Piece Band arrived in Manhattan. Following Ellington came numerous legendary black performers who would have a profound impact on the history of entertainment in America. They appeared in venues such as the Cotton Club, the Apollo Theater, the Savoy, and many others. Among them were legendary names such as Cab Calloway, Louis Armstrong, Bill Bojangles Robinson, Nat King Cole, Lena Horne, Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, and of course the great Count Basie.
I was leaving from Chicago to go to New York with my band. And there was a guy there that was playing organ. Count Basie, he could make an organ talk. I dug this cat so, and I said, well, man, I'm going on to New York. I said, and when I get to New York, I want you to be a piano player in my band.
The most significant business development.
Right, and then we're going to listen to closer to the end part of this video.
Performers couldn't even go downtown into white America and be accepted. They'd be thrown out, drummed out of the very bandstands that they were proficient at standing on and playing. It must have been very disheartening for them to try to be accepted. They certainly would be accepted uptown by white audiences, but those same people might, in no uncertain terms, and certainly not very friendly, kick them out of any white club if they ever tried to go in.
Racism was not unique to New York, nor was it unique to the South. It was truly a national situation, so that a Duke Ellington or a Louis Armstrong, they had lived in America, so they were familiar with racism.
Before the Harlem Renaissance, it was definitely necessary for African Americans, if they were in the entertainment business, to give the white audience what they wanted. Playing in the black audiences, of course, they would also, but for certain, if you wanted to really eat regularly and if you really wanted to make a living as an entertainer, you had to give white audiences what they wanted, which was stereotypical shucking and jiving, just getting along, kind of the ya's a boss kind of thing. And that was accepted, and that was acceptable. That was what was expected. When the Harlem Renaissance comes along, that kind of blows the stereotype, especially musically. Sounds that had not ever been heard. We are a people of great passion, and we're a people who play it off the cuff. I always call it, we don't paint by numbers. We don't dance by the numbers on the floor. We take that and then we incorporate it and make it uniquely ours. It's called soul. And when you do that and you come from your soul, then you're going to go with the rhythm of it. You're going to go with the movement of it. You're going to go with the beat.
Indeed, since the time of the Harlem Renaissance, African American entertainers, actors, musicians, artists, and writers have had an enormously profound impact on American culture and continue to do so to this day. Yet all of these many great contributions of the last 5 decades had their roots in the Harlem Renaissance, a time when Harlem, New York, was the cultural center and symbol of African American pride and success.
All right, fantastic.
One of the most influential periods of Black America.
All right, so hold on to your thoughts. We're going to watch a shorter video, and then we will share our thoughts together.
This was a very, very, very unfair, unjust, wretched country for blacks who wanted to express their art. The real meat of the Harlem Renaissance went from about 1920 to 1930. It was just this great artistic reaction to all of the racism and hardships that American soldiers saw during World War I when they were overseas. So their mindset was, how come the French and the Italians treat us much better than we are treated back in the United States of America, and here we are fighting for the freedom of our home country. And so when all of these soldiers came back into their communities, there had been a lot of essays and articles written about the desire for Black patriots to support the arts and to express this genius that had been ignored for so long. So you had this movement that grew out of bloodshed in a war that all of a sudden now could be symbolized with music, dance, theater, literature, book writing, and that's how it sort of started to flourish in the early 1920s. James Van Der Zee started out sort of taking ordinary photographs of Black folk in Harlem. Wedding pictures, social teas, things of that nature. And so he starts really falling in love as well with the Harlem Renaissance that's all circulating around him. Poets are over there, and musicians are over there, and novelists are over there, and dancers are over there, and politicians are over there. And he says, whoa, this really is amazing. I have to get my camera going. And so he was the first photographer who really recognized that this movement needed to be captured. Just know.
And this part that is my favorite part when he talks about the power of art.
Art helps, I think, soften the humanity in us all. And so were it not for this movement, other art movements might not even have sprang up. I mean, the Harlem Renaissance gave women, gave impoverished people all over this country a hint of just what you can do if you want to put your art on the line. And it's all they really wanted is to show America that if you give us a fair chance, we will produce greatness. From that movement, they have stitched the Black American forevermore into the artistic fabric of this country. And that's a tall order to imagine it and then to execute it.
All right. I know there's just so much that you can think of. We were just basically bombarded by like so many layers of events and ideas and thoughts and so many inspiring things. But I want you guys to just maybe take a couple seconds and share one thing that you found really inspiring and empowering, or something that it was your first time that you got introduced to, or anything. Same for the chat box, guys. Please feel free to just drop in whatever you were thinking or was super inspiring to you.
I just think it's very cool to actually realize that all these different artists were actually working around and near each other and inspiring each other at the same time. It's hard now to really realize that like these musicians and authors and even photographers and all these different practices are all coming together in this same sort of focused part of the country at one time. I mean, now we have the internet and different ways of communicating that it's hard to think back, but back then people didn't always know what was happening on the other side of the country or whatever. So to have all of these things happening sort of at once in New York, which is not really that big of a place, is really interesting to learn more about and really realize.
Yeah, I was thinking kind of on a similar wavelength. We think about the Harlem Renaissance in terms of music specifically here, but I was not really thinking of all the other aspects like art and literature, and we got to see some of that, so that was really cool. Also, no one in the chat has said anything very specific, but Jimmy did say that he always enjoys learning something new about Harlem Renaissance. So we'll see who
That's
else.
fantastic. That is fantastic. Thanks you guys for sharing. Mr. Zachary?
Yeah, Mr. David actually took the words right out of my mouth as well. But I think another observation that I can make is they all gathered together in New York, but I wonder what would have happened if they had gathered in a different city. I wonder how the style would have been different. Back then, of course, they didn't have internet or social media or anything like that, so they couldn't necessarily share different techniques or different styles unless they were together. So I was very curious to see how maybe before they got together, how they sounded apart and how different or maybe how similar they were. That would have been really cool to know or to hear. That would have been really interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, totally. And I think when they got together, it became the movement, right? So everybody's mission was kind of moving towards certain goals, which is the cool part about it, obviously. But there's just it's just full of individuals as well, and everybody has their own artistic expression, and you can say, oh, this is Louis Armstrong or this is Duke Ellington, so which is really cool. I think as everybody mentions something like this, that it was a very small place, but everybody was together, but also everybody is very well distinguished. So that's pretty cool. Like everybody had something very unique to
Right.
express through their art. That is really fantastic. All right, we're gonna move on, and Miss Annie is still monitoring the chat, so feel free to type in anything that you come up with. We will share with everybody. So the next portion of our roundtable session will be learning two jazz songs. One is by Duke Ellington and the other one is by Ella Fitzgerald. Make sure that you follow along and sing along and ask maybe someone around you to join you in this fun activity. And if you are interested, I would suggest you check the website of Carnegie Hall, go to their education program category, and there's a lot of fun stuff to watch. These two following videos are also on there. The first video we're going to watch is about the song Take the A Train by Duke Ellington. One important person who was always collaborating with him was Billy Strayhorn, and he was a composer, pianist, lyricist, and arranger, and he just really closely collaborated with Duke Ellington all the time. The first time that they were going to meet, apparently Ellington wrote him the directions to his office in Harlem, so he could find him and go to him, and they could meet for the first time. And then those words that he wrote on that piece of paper, the directions, later became the lyrics for this song that we're going to listen to. Take the A Train. It's going to be kind of like the directions to his office. I want you guys to also think, how would you turn maybe your home address or your school address or library or whatever you know of into a little song? How would that be? What are some of the sounds maybe that you can use? What is the melody that comes to your mind? And even if you can just like write it on a piece of paper, see if you can make it sound like a song. I found that very, very funny and interesting. And the other thing that we are going to learn in this video will be a vocal technique called scatting. Now, some of you guys might be familiar with it, but we are going to start a video. Hope you enjoy.
Harlem. If you miss the A train, you find you've missed the quickest way to Harlem. Hello, musical explorers. My name is Brianna, and this is Conan, and we're so happy that you're here to learn about jazz with us. Today, we're going to learn the song Take the A Train. It's a song about a New York City train that will take us to Sugar Hill up in Harlem. First, we're going to learn the melody. Repeat after me. You must take the A train to go to Sugar Hill way up in Harlem. You miss the A train, you find you've missed the quickest way to Harlem. Now we're going to put it all together. Sing along with me. You must take the A train to go to Sugar Hill way up in Harlem. You miss the A train, you find you've missed the quickest way to Harlem. There's a special technique in jazz called scatting, and this is where vocalists improvise. They make up melodies and syllables on the spot to communicate in the language of jazz music. Let me show you an example. I'm going to scat and communicate with Conan. Here we go. Now it's your turn to scat. Repeat after me. I'll call and you'll respond. Here we go. Baby do, baby do, lady do. Shubo baby don't no 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 no. Wee shabon bon shabon bon bon. La nobody da no bon. Baby don't bon baby la la. Shobo de don't lia. Baby don't la mada. Now that you've scattered. Now it's your turn to make up your own melodies. You've repeated after me, but now you got to make something up of your own. I want to hear your voice. Sha la la la, sha la la way. Le 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 la 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 le. La la do ba da, shoo da la la no. Shoo did late, shoo did late, shoo did did la. You must take the A train to go to Sugar Hill, way up in Harlem. If you miss the A train, you find you've missed the quickest way to Harlem. Hurry, get on now, it's coming. Listen to those rails a humming. All aboard. Get on the A train to go to Sugar Hill, way up in Harlem. Musical Explorers, thank you so much for scatting with me. Thank you so much for making up your own melodies and being brave, using your voice to tell what you have to say. I hope you have fun exploring this amazing music we call jazz. Bye.
Fantastic. Okay, before we talk about our scatting skills, we're going to watch one more of a video. Before that, I want to introduce you a book about Duke Ellington. It's called Duke Ellington, the Piano Prince and His Orchestra. It's a very cool book if you guys can borrow it maybe from your libraries. It's very, very nice, and it has super cool illustrations in it too. The next video will be about the song called Blue Skies by Ella Fitzgerald. She's definitely one of my favorites of all time. And I would like to invite you to listen to the melody line and its ups and downs and how is it moving alongside with the lyrics, and if they're somehow working together, and then we will be talking about that afterwards. All righty.
Blue sky smiling at me. Hello, musical explorers. My name is Brianna. This is Conan, and we're very excited to learn a new song with you, a beautiful melody called Blue Skies. First, let's learn the melody. Repeat after me. Here we go. Blue sky smiling at me. Nothing but blue skies do I see. Bluebirds singing their song. Nothing but bluebirds all day long. Now, Let's put the melody together and sing together. Here we go. Blue sky smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Blue birds singing their song, nothing but bluebirds all day long. Every song has its own melody, and every melody has its own shape. Let's try tracing the shape of this melody with our hands. Blue sky smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Blue birds singing their song, nothing but bluebirds all day long. Now, let's sing the whole song. Feel free to trace the melody and sing along. Blue sky smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Blue birds singing their song, nothing but bluebirds all day long. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right. Noticing the day hurrying by, when you're in love, my how they fly. Oh, blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on. Thank you so much, musical explorers, for joining me and Mr. Conant on this journey. We hope you continue to sing this melody, and may all your skies always be blue.
All right. It was so fun. Oh my gosh, I was having so much fun. I could sing one more time. Well, the tracing thing wasn't as easy as you think it is. I don't know how you guys felt. Okay, so let's a little talk about the first one. How did your scattings go?
It was perfect. It was like an expert scatter now. It was great. Oh no, it's terrible. But it was great. I mean, I learned a new skill. I tried something new. So yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. And Mr. David?
Good. It's fun to try out, especially when you're used to playing an instrument. It's fun to use your voice.
Yeah, exactly. Miss Annie?
Yeah, same. Scouting is a little intimidating to me, but new things are good. Also, Rosario had asked a question. She said, "Are they saying real words?"
That's a great question. So I was actually going to talk about that real quick. So these are mostly just syllabuses, just as you feel, and you kind of go with them. And I was going to actually ask you guys what were some of the common ones that you guys used in your scatting, because I definitely noticed I'm using a few a lot, maybe like 3 of them, just too many times.
Bebop is my favorite, apparently.
What is
Bebop
it?
is like
Oh, nice.
too.
I like that.
Yeah, just different different mixes of vowel sounds, but some scat singers will mix in real words too, and you can get creative with it. You don't have to not use real words.
Right, yeah. What are some of the syllabuses you used, you guys? Mr. David and Miss Annie?
Don't a lot of
Random.
I've
Just
noticed
randoms?
scat singers, yeah, they do like do and like dooba doo or like la or that kind of thing.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
found myself using a lot of them that started with D, like do da
yeah.
dee da dee do dee da. And then I kind of like that gesture that you go super high, like surprise everybody, and then you go down. It's very cool. Yeah, feel free to drop in the chat box, you guys, if you also did the scatting along. I'd love to hear from you guys as well. What did you think about following the line of the melody? I have some ideas about the lyrics in the how the melody was constructed, but I'm wondering what you guys thought about that. What did you guys think about that?
I think it reminded me of our last roundtable talk, actually, how we made like mountains out of the lyrics, or
Yeah.
I think it's just something similar. So it just kind of was like deja vu for me, deja vu moment. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a great tool to use. I think if you're kind of stuck and don't really know what to do, maybe with dynamics, maybe that's a cool thing that you can incorporate in your own practice. Is fun recording and follow along with the line, and then I'll tell you everything.
That's very cool. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it definitely helped me to visualize where the melody was going more than just sitting there and thinking about it or sitting and looking at music like we normally do. It made it feel a lot more creative.
Yeah, seeing how it moves around with your hand, a lot of very commonly in jazz melodies like this, they move around a lot more than you think they do. Like they're catchy and you can learn them quickly, but they're really moving up and down quite a bit and
I
very
know.
chromatically. Yeah.
Exactly, it's the magic of jazz. They put a picture on their website with this one that I found really interesting because in my head, can you imagine if you're in New York and you're looking at all sort of like those tall buildings and everything, and then you're kind of like looking for the blue sky or even the bird, and like kind of looking up in a kind of that sharp move, kind of like similar. It's similar to this kind of picture. It's very cool. I found this picture super awesome. It's New York, like it's a big city, and then like you're looking for the blue sky, and I liked how also they use the rhythm. Well, I love Fitzgerald. Use the rhythm to when it's long, like it's at the end of the phrase, and it's just kind of settling. I don't know. It just feels supernatural, as if you're just talking to somebody. That's really magical. All right, it was really fantastic, you guys. Before wrapping up, I just have one tiny video that I love so much. This is Bing Crosby and Ella Fitzgerald. They're going to improv and make a song that they call a children's song medley in a live performance, and it's just so amazing to watch. I want you guys to listen to their improvisation techniques, including scatting, and all the other creative ways they use to have their musical conversation going. They basically use like everything that they can. It's fantastic.
A singer like yourself, how do you get started?
Well, the best thing is to start out very young with children's songs.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you know any children's songs?
Ella, may I tell you something? I have the largest repertoire of children's songs since Mother Hubbard.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo, Scooby-Dooby-Dooby, ding dong ding, ding dong ding, boo boo boo, boo boo boo, boo boo boo, boo boo boo. That's mine.
Green yellow basket.
Doo-dee-doo-dee-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Doo-dee-doo-dee-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Doo-dee-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. How
Yay! Oh, sorry. My YouTube really loved it, so it was replaying it. All right, guys. So that was the last video. Before we say goodbye, I want to just hear maybe one or two things, from everybody here with me or in the chat box. What did you guys, I guess, enjoy the most, or what was super cool to experience during this roundtable session for you?
I have one question that has come through about 3 times from James and Sophia, and they're asking, I wonder if they had openly played their instruments before they migrated to Harlem. So if you have any thoughts on that, Miss Nagar.
If they ever openly played, what do you
So
mean?
I think they mean just did they play their instruments before they were in Harlem, or did they learn once they got there? Type of question.
Oh, well, based on my knowledge, these people all were already like musicians when they went there. And also some of them, as we heard in the first video, some of them got invited, like one person was there and they were like, "Hey, you guys gotta, come over here because it's really booming and it's very cool. Let's just create something together." So some of them were invited by their friends or colleagues. But based on my knowledge, everybody was a musician when they got there. Well, they were super young, but as Mr. David also mentioned at the very beginning, but they were already musicians. And I'm sure they trained so many students as well along the way. But yeah, that's a very good question. Are there any other questions?
Nothing of complete relevance to this, so we can move on.
Sounds great. All right, so let's go back to our wrapping up question and maybe share one thing or two that was really interesting to you guys or you enjoyed the most.
Yeah, I think I just enjoyed probably the first video just because it was really informational. So yeah, I think just gathering as much information as I could from that was probably the best part, honestly. And I can take it and apply it to other things in my life and make those connections. So yeah, I think just learning about something new was great.
I really enjoyed this last video, thinking of scatting or just jazz in terms of children's nursery rhymes. It makes it seem a little bit less intimidating. And it was fun to see the rest of the act that they had planned out too, just to hear them sing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite things about jazz that we saw in the variety of videos playing jazz that I enjoy as well is that a lot of the songs work really well either with a big band or with just like the videos we saw in the Carnegie Hall where it's just piano and a singer. It's really cool to hear all the different varieties of combinations of musicians that can work with the same music.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like one of the key aspects of this genre being this successful. Like literally, you can also be by yourself at home and, play jazz or, just enjoy it by yourself. You don't need like a big band. It's just it's very unique in my opinion about this genre that you can enjoy it in different ways and you can, make it more personal and individual and enjoy it. It's really, really cool. Well, it was really, really amazing. And thank you guys for sharing all your thoughts and participating in the chat box as well. Thank you, all the students who joined us today. I enjoyed so much, and I can't wait for our next roundtable session. And I hope to see you there next time. Bye.